Previously on Artistic
New
Workout.
Academy here and tricks! And now, through the lens, I met a neighbor who was running for election. The mother! The secret weapon. The mother! How dare you!
The mother!
So long! Fall, late fall. The authorities have fucks. There are swings, there are carousels. He was a doctor of medicine, the writer of children's books, an expert on children's upbringing.
Museum.
Janusz Korczak ended his life as a hero. Dr. Korczak was a playful figure, steal some jam or sweets. Black and white outline lines were transferred. Traces? Hello. November the 1st, 2025. Before we slip into long nights, cold, depression. Hopefully not. We have something that is called Złota Polska Jesień, Golden Polish Fall, which I had discovered when I was 6 years old, 7 years old, and the colors inspire me till this day. And my grandparents, great-grandparents lived in this house. Okay. Not a very quick guide to mixing colors using paints, pigments, colored pencils, dyes. If you want to have a secondary color, like orange, you have to mix yellow and red, but use such pigments, such paints, that have the color located closer to each other on a color wheel. In other words, if you want to have orange, take this warmer variation of yellow and a more orangey variant of red and mix it to have a somewhat, well, at least in theory, pure orange. But if you want to mix green, you want to use yellow that is located closer to the green or blue on the color wheel. That is the lemon yellow variation, not the warm, the lemon. If we use colors that are a bit further away in an effort to mix our secondary colors, we would end up with, let's say, a pumpkin orange. That is kind of a dirty brownish look of the color. And if we used ultramarine and the warmer yellow, or even the right, so to speak, kind of yellow, but ultramarine instead of phthalo blue, we would achieve olive green. So that would be olive with a bit of the opposite color. An exercise that I find good for any level of skill that you might have is to copy a leaf. You could either do it with watercolor or colored pencils, or with these perhaps slightly more difficult, because not as precise, oil pastels. I felt somewhat intimidated, especially that I was recording it at night. I had given a similar task to my students and I was saying, oh my, it's quite difficult, maybe I will fail. I started soft touch, and actually I somehow managed. And even though the camera was brand new for me. Bravo! Students, I understand you. I suffered too. Draw the damn leaf now! Actually, you may not draw, and I may give you an F. How about that? This is my third approach, at least, to show you certain things here with the use of older version of Photoshop, which doesn't matter for the purpose of this demonstration. I have some older pictures taken with a cell phone on a walk, so the quality of the images is not top-notch, but perhaps sufficient for the purpose of this demonstration. What we see in nature during the golden Polish fall, is that we have what I would call diversity in unity. What do I mean by that? Let's take a look at this here. Yellow, 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 yellow. But for some reason, this is appealing to us. We are looking at the local colors of these leaves. We don't have much of an interplay of light shining through semi-transparent leaves onto the leaves that are below. But let's take a look at these colors here through sampling them. Okay, I'm here and let's see. So this is the color. Look how far it is from full saturation, which would be on the right side of this circle, but it is also not completely white, obviously, or not completely desaturated. And look at the color itself. Is it red? Is it yellow? No, it's kind of orange, but it's a shade of orange. We could say it's almost brown, but not really. So this is one of the lessons we can take from nature. Composing your own palette of colors, set of colors. And what's going on here? Look at this. Again, it is a brownish color, but it has a slight orange tint. Now look at this one. How would you call this color? Is it brown? Is it orange? Or is it just magically inspiring? I don't want to be sarcastic here or funny, because actually using colors like that, I would call them not obvious colors. Not obvious. See? Using colors like that in your painting or your digital work, colors that are somewhat related to each other, not obvious, not obviously yellow or orange or red or not even obviously brown, can add depth to your work. What is this? Brown? I wouldn't say it's pink at all, because I don't want to be attacked. How about this? This looks very saturated. Part of it is the work of the camera. Okay, in the phone. So yes, this is fully saturated. But again, it's not an obvious color. It's somewhere in between. your oranges and your yellows. These leaves are semi-translucent, so they can cast a shadow, but also they can get a little bit of that tinted light through. Another lesson from nature. Why is it appealing? So perhaps it's so appealing because there is a variety within unity. So you have different shades of the same color and different saturation. But another appealing thing about this is that it has sort of a graphic element here. These very fine yet diverse lines. Some of them have hard edges, some of them are a bit softer. The foreground can act with the background. Our perception of color is very, very relative. So these orange objects, leaves, would look completely different when the background would be a different color than it is in this cell phone photo. So, November the 2nd, and I'm a bit moody because I visited so many graves of a branch of my family, and looking at the graves not only of my family, but some of them even as far as the beginning of the 20th century, was like history carved in stone. So many thoughts and feelings. And that's another lesson that I gained from fall. Painting a leaf was not easy and it was frustrating, but when I go back to painting my usual stuff, I pay so much more attention to the detail in value and color. Details in grays, for example, chromatic grays. Okay, I hope I made an interesting episode from which you benefited somewhat. If so, give it a like. If not, give it a dislike. Subscribe, please. Leave a comment. It all helps to make the channel grow. And I will see you next time. Perhaps we will be talking about my first memory or your first memory and how to convey and transpose these vague memories into the language of painting, perhaps in such a way, hopefully, that the viewer receives some of this emergence, the message, the emotions. In other words, what I'm trying to say, he or she feels the way you feel about your memory, or the child you once were felt about the thing that made the memory happen in the first place. My first memory. I wake up at night and it's very dark. Until then, thanks for watching once again, and goodbye.